you can get away with a shit product. You cannot get away with shit support. You need to do so much that it makes it statistically difficult to not win. Sell shovels, not gold. A lot of agencies right now simply don't know how to set up infra. And they don't know how to go ahead and set up systems that will help them scale.
Welcome to the Go to Market podcast. In this episode, we're joined by Namburi, the founder of Smartlead.ai, who shares invaluable insights on cold email strategies in today's complicated landscape. He shares the importance of crafting unique and personalized email copy, the role of deliverability, and the ongoing debate around email warm-ups. V also dives into the significance of customer support and how it has fueled Smartlead's growth. This show is brought to you by Leadbird, a lead generation agency specializing in performance-driven, hyper-personalized cold emails that generate demos and drive growth. Go to leadbird.io to learn more. All right, let's get started with today's show.
V, what's going on, man? Dude, excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me, sir. It's an honor and a pleasure, as always. Always an inspiration, and thank you. Yeah, very grateful.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, let me give a quick background on V. So V is a very humble guy. He doesn't make himself look huge, but dude's running a massive company, Smartlead.ai. If you guys don't know, cold email sending platform. Literally changed my business. Serving like I mean, I don't know his user base or what he's at in terms of revenue, but I know it's substantial. And he if you see him in a coffee shop, this dude would just look like any other Indian engineer, just typing it away. But dude's crushing it. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Dude, so obviously cold emails, right? What do you think is working right now? And with all the deliverability issues that have came in the past and stuff, like, yeah, like what are you seeing that is working right now across like all your users?
When you say working, like, are you talking about copy, mailbox? Don't say everything because there's so much to speak about.
Dude, everything.
Everything.
Wait,
Okay.
in terms of like general guidelines, everyone,
General guidelines, the normal shit stays the same, doesn't change. I
Yeah.
think the one thing that a lot of people is big press on is just copy. Lots of push on copy right now, in terms of being as custom and as different as possible with all the updates that the larger players are bringing in with. I mean, it's again, look, it's all a guessing game. My perception over here is simple. Back in the day, a couple of years ago, they started off with the whole technical side, the DKIM, DMARC, SPF, all that stuff. People figured that out. Then they went into, don't use the same copy again and again. Syntax came into play. They changed that. Then they went with the warm-ups. I mean, domains being very new and then suddenly sending hundreds of emails. They did like a ratio of sends to receives. People started sorting that out, warm-ups. Then there was the IP stuff. People figured that out. I think what they realized is the hardest thing for people to scale is copy, right? Like that's the thing that is the most difficult. So I think the ones that are working really well right now are people who are paying a lot of attention to the messages they're sending, and much like yourself as well. And those are the ones that are getting pretty good results. Yeah, you have the Outlook to Outlook, Outlook to Gmail, Gmail to Outlook, separate vendor networks or like resellers with like pod-based systems and all that jazz is obviously there. And I do agree that that makes a difference for a fact. But the copy seems to be the one that's carrying a lot of the energy right now.
Yeah. And when you say copy, right? So like you're talking more about like the people that are going in, like Eric, for example, that's like, making each email look individually unique because they're pulling in all these different data points that are specific to the lead.
Correct.
And then like
Correct.
spitting up, AI generated ideas to incorporate to the
Correct.
copy. That like, do you feel like, so like what we do for majority of our clients is we'll pull in some extra variables outside of just like the first name, company name, all that stuff. And then we'll use quick lines, which is individual to the lead in itself. Do you feel like that's enough? Or is it like, you're kind of seeing that like where it's headed is like, you need to make each email look super, super unique in terms of like going overboard with the AI stuff?
I think where we're going is, you need to be very specific in terms of what you're sending out to people. Or if you can't be specific, you need to have enough intent in the message that the ratio just looks positive to you, right? The number of people responding back to your emails is just a higher volume, and that acts as a positive signal nonetheless. And that works well because you can send custom emails for sure, but if you end up sending custom emails to dead ears, by nature, your send like the ratio is pretty bad, right? And that itself acts as an angle of Are you really spamming? Are you, because at its core, a goal of an electronic mail is to get a reply, right? So if you're not just getting replies and just hitting it hard, then that also, I'm sure, has an impact on your outbound reputation.
Yeah, I think like the one thing that I've seen, I kind of feel like AI isn't truly there, even with all like the unique stuff.
It's
Like
not. It's not. It's
you
not.
know,
There's a lot to
I,
look for. Yeah,
I've had
definitely a lot to look for.
like some friends that like I go through their entire email sequences and
Mm,
copies, and they're doing all the clay unique, like let me create
mm,
like 3 different ideas and all that, and I read the emails and 20% of it beautiful, like so crisp,
yeah, yeah,
but then the other 80% I'm like, dude, this is like pretty awful, because it's like, AI is going to come up with some generic stuff here and there. So like,
yeah.
I always try to figure out like what is the right balance there, I guess.
Um, it's low volume, high volume campaigns, meaning the campaigns that you're reaching out to is you're sending out campaigns with 1,000, 2,000 leads, right? But you're
Mhm.
sending out 10 of those campaigns. So what you've got is you've got specific work done for a specific campaign. Because then what it happens is, as you know, AI can be absolutely nuts when you give it a large field to work with. And I'm quoting, I'm referencing this of campaigns that people you and I know of already when you look at the way they've set it up. And the way they've set it up is yeah, perceptive of the fact that they'll have 100 campaigns, and each campaign would be like fully AI, but because they've done that campaign specific to persona or some categorization, what ends up happening is it gives them a lot of a lot of constrainment in terms of the how wild the LLM or the ChatGPT model can go, and then they repeat that for the second campaign, third, fourth, fifth campaign. So I think when we see people have absolutely weird shit pop out, it's when they've taken one massive list and build like an overloaded chat GPT prompting, if it's this, then do this. If it's this, then do this. If it's this, then do this. And that point, you start getting weird shit. But then when you keep it very concentric, that's when it starts working really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other thing I think is very important, and this kind of comes back to your point of like the, just overall getting good replies and positive
Mm,
engagement
mm,
to the
mm,
campaign.
mm.
Like I would say a majority of companies majority of just companies in just general don't really have product market fit or really like substantial
Yes.
offers. That's why like,
Yes.
most businesses never even touch $1 million in revenue.
Yes.
Um, if you just send a good offer and you don't even
Good to
have
go.
all the crazy variables, like you can still make it work. Like one of our best performing
100%.
campaigns of the
100%.
years, one of our best performing, this one's gonna be hilarious. Like, and you should go look at it inside of Smartlead and into our Smartlead account. Like, we had this one client, we basically had a 4 paragraph, just straight text. They wouldn't let us, change the copy or anything in any
Okay.
capacity, but it's just such a good offer that
It
like,
just
and
worked
to
really
the
well.
market,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, we never touched that campaign for over 8 months and just
And it just
did
printed.
volume.
Yeah.
I think we did like 100 leads a month consistently
It's crazy.
across the board. And it was literally like 6 paragraphs long. There was a whole bunch of links in it. Just like it was just like if anyone read that, they'd be like, dude, there's no way that
What
works.
the hell?
I
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
I even had to hop on the call with the CSM because the CSM was submitting this for review to me, like when I
Yeah.
was doing all the review, and I was like, dude, there's no way we're sending this. Like, absolutely no way.
Yeah.
And I had to hop on the call with the client, and the client's like, dude, we've worked with six
What are
other
you
lead
doing?
gen agencies. We know this
Yeah.
works. We
Yeah.
proved it. We validated it. Just run it. And I'm like, "Ah, all right, like I guess.
Done. Yeah.
And hey, he was right. But hey, dude, I want to touch on another topic that I always send it to you because we always see it on Twitter all the time. It's the warm up versus no warm up. Can you can, tell me? Yeah, just tell me your thoughts on that.
I will tell you, I'll give you a very irritating answer. Just for the one or two people who are listening, the people who have brothers and sisters who work at Google specifically, right? Or family who are software engineers and everything. You know who I'm referring to. Just for those people if they're listening. Um, I would be so happy to turn off my entire warm up network. I have no idea how happy I would be to turn it off. Um, we send 70 something million emails a day through the warm up network. You can imagine the amount of, and that's free, right? And you can imagine the amount of left and right maintenance and work that's required to just sustain that, and the cost, which we're not even going to speak about. If someone gives me tactical, tactical data backed proof that it doesn't work, you will watch me turn that off faster than anything else, right? Get a tattoo saying warm ups don't work. I have no interest paying multi six figures per month to keep the servers running for that one service for free. I am more than happy to turn it off. It unfortunately works, is the way I want to put it. The second it stops, rest assured, we'll be the first one to sing praises about getting rid of it. So that's
Yeah.
the, I guess, irritating answer I can give you is when people say it works, it doesn't work. I'm like, have proof behind your claim, not just
Yeah.
one Twitter post backed by another Twitter post. And when the funny part is these people push it on Twitter, I know their accounts. We log into their accounts and see they actually just have it turned on. They just usually use that to just leverage and get social clout, because that's a new trend to like find some random thing and then take it. No, it unfortunately works. The second it stops working, you'll know. We'll be the first ones to not. We'll actually just charge for it at that point, right?
Yeah.
Why not? Right?
Yeah. It's funny because it's like if you look at it from your business model perspective, like the better you can make sure that your customers deliver, the less churn you'll most likely have
It's just like
because it's the results you
well,
get.
that's all that matters. Like in the end,
Yeah.
we get paid when you get paid, right? Like we have no intention of pushing something down someone's throat that doesn't lead you to get money and leads us to get this. So
Yeah.
it unfortunately works. I repeated it 10 times. It unfortunately works, but the second it stops working, we'll be the first to let you know to not use it.
And I think it's like one of those things where also like you just kind of like think about, and I used to do this all the time when I was first starting out in my career. Like I used to post content off of like, just like, all right, you have that one instance where the campaign does better without warm up versus warm up.
Yeah.
And then you make a general consensus saying, okay,
Yeah.
like I know more than the guy that's sending 100 million emails a day. And my 5,000 emails I sent showed this data
That's
and it's the truth. And it's not.
pretty
you know?
much the claim I make. And people get annoyed when they're like, oh, you can't just come and throw numbers. I was like, what else do you want me to throw? Right? Like that's the only thing I have to throw at you, which is you run it on 5,000. Sure, you can write it on 50. Sure, you can write it on 500,000. Um, Run on 500,000 for a few months, then you'll catch up to how much we process in a day. Then we can use the tactable information to point it yes or no. Look, that happens across the board, right? Which is like even like when we're doing product decisions internally within the team, right?
Mhm.
Like one of our team will go speak to this person who's the perfect persona, and that guy will say the exact opposite of what we planned. And I feel that's like, yeah, you're right. That one person who's meant to say yes to everything has says no to everything. Speak to 10 more of those, and then let's make a call. Just one is not going to work. So sample sizes make a massive difference, as we know. So yeah, that's the internet.
Yeah, it's also funny too because I see the discussion of like, oh, we need private warm-up networks, and the private networks are how we don't get caught because these blacklists intercept the seed network, and it's funny too because like I spent 2 years building a private network and that I was selling as a SaaS. So we used to run all of our campaigns in there, and one, it's incredibly difficult to manage, and when it gets commercialized and scaled. Like you need to have so many seed accounts that are rotating like every month.
Correct.
And the moment your seed accounts get caught doing the suspicious activity and Gmail shuts them all down, guess what happens to the entire user base?
Bounce. Yep.
All day long. And it's like there's literally not going to be a single company in the world that can manage an infrastructure to do private stuff and be able to commercialize it.
Actually make something out of it. Yeah.
There's no way. And then it's just like we also saw the results from it. Like our campaigns were not doing good for like that year and a half versus when we literally joined Smartlead, our deliverability took a huge and you can see it in our data. Like you can see like the reply rate we've had for the last 3 years across our agency on a monthly basis because we track that data on a daily basis. And if you look at the month we made the switch to Smartlead because we abandoned our email sending platform that we spent a year and a half building, put a lot of money into, and literally just went up. And it's just like, and that's why I'm such a huge fan of Smartlead. And like obviously we built our entire business around it. It's just because it works. But kind of on the note of deliverability, let's talk about private infra versus like just using, the public infra, Google. Yeah.
Fun one. So private infra we can break into two, right? So we got the Google and Gmail, Google and Outlooks, and we got private infra, which is these SMTP networks, these people selling SMTP services, and then you got one layer below, which is like dedicated IP self-managed stuff, right? The dedicated managed IP stuff works really well until it really doesn't. It's just like, something fresh to the market, something new. Sales. Just like what you said with your, question or your statement right before, which is it at scale, when you commercialize things is when everything starts breaking, right? When you're doing low volume, great. You'll actually get good results. Then we go into the private SMTPs. I mean, these SMTP companies. I'm here nor there. Some of them work really well for some people until they don't again. So you get a very mixed bag of emotions from customers where some people are like, yeah, I'm using this SMTP software. It's great. And then suddenly they start getting blocked or they see a big drop in their results, mostly because those guys, their customer will probably start sending messages to like the proof points and the Mimecast, and that's used by enterprise. And the second you get caught by Mimecast or Proofpoint, you're done, right? You're out of the picture. But Google has a way around that, always has and always will. So which is why I even say like when you are blacklisted and you're blacklisted on an IP perspective to a Google MX record, doesn't matter. Like Google will, it's just that doesn't really matter because most of these people who are tracking blacklists are Google and Outlook, and they know the RDNS networks point towards a specific IP address or range that belongs to Google or Outlook. So they're like, yeah, it's fine, it's there, so we can push through. My always safety net has been Gmail and Outlook. Maybe I'm not going to first time speak on data perspective. I'm just going to speak on the concept of intuition. These people invented commercial modern email, right? They know what they're doing, right? And in the end, they decide the algorithm, right? Where you can have a custom. I think we see these audacious responses from people saying 95% deliverability, or we'll get you placed in your, the inbox. Like, no, you know what? Like you're a dude who was running a travel agency 6 months ago. No, you're not going to get past a Google engineer who's, spent his or her entire life building this. It's an audacious claim. Like even I don't claim that, right? I can't claim that, but we do the best we can to sort of best help. So to go back to your question, I'm always a fan of Gmail and Outlook, but there's variants of that. I think you're obviously trying something out right now and it's working well for you. So there's variants of Outlook where you can set up on a variety of ways without saying things, and that works really well. And they are, like I said, these SMTP tools that work well until they don't. I guess in the easiest, shortest way I can summarize this is there's like a new Smartlead competitor every other day, and there's a new ESP in town every other day. And they'll work really well for 4 months. And then they will get some scale and then they die because that is when the decider part comes in. And I think anyone who can manage on the SMTP side, scale-based system, while they're peaking traffic, I think they can do quite well because private SMTPs combined with dedicated like managed IP networks can bring you some good results.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, I'd be curious to hear your take on. So like, this is like what our kind of infra is from like our clients and like what you would do to kind of make it a little bit more sustainable. So we use 4 domains. We're using what Hypertide does, which is something on the Microsoft end. So it's Microsoft IPs, all from the US. From each domain, they create 50 inboxes, and each inbox is sending about 2 emails. So
yeah. The low volume sendings. Yeah.
So it's about 100 emails per domain. So across a week, 500 across a month, 2,000 per domain, which isn't like too much volume.
Yeah.
And then, we have 4 domains on one panel, and we use that, we'll use that for a whole month across the client. And, we'll get into that, 8K per month email volume range. And I guess like that's our setup right now. Like anything that you would say, like, I would make this investment.
I think you've sort of de-risked yourself a bit. You've set up an infrastructure that can sort of, if it, falls on the side, you can pick yourself up really quickly. Tool definitely on the lower end, but I know what you're referring to. I had similar conversations with certain people on that as well. But I get why they're doing 2 because technically shared inbox, set up. So it's not actually 2, it's a lot more than 2. Mm-hmm. You're just isolating that send to to a username. So I don't have a here or there, but just based on results, I guess your results are doing pretty decent. So pretty well. So I would say it's working, but we will have to see, to your point, the next 3-4 months, how it goes. I think you adopted this last like a few weeks ago as well, right? So we'll have to see how it performs as well. But so far it's looking positive. And I think a lot of people, even when we had our office hours yesterday, were doing this 0 to 3 volume send, split inboxes across panels and, shared cycles. On a 5, 6, 8 domain infra. And I thought that was interesting. And when we looked at the numbers, I was like, oh, wow, you're actually doing quite well. So
and I think like the ongoing way too as well to kind of identify issues. And this is like one of your new product features, Smart Centers, right? Or no, it's
Smart Delivery is the placement rate one.
Smart Delivery. Sorry, I exposed you on that one, but we'll keep it rolling. So yeah, like what we're planning to do, it's like, okay, we're using all four for a month. And then as soon as the campaign runs, we run our campaigns at 30-day periods. As soon as the campaign completes, as soon as you guys have the API for smart delivery, we're gonna run a placement test across all four domains. If it's good,
Thank
we'll
you.
just
Change
keep
it.
Yeah, we'll keep it on, a warm up for the next 30 days and then use the other set that we have for the client. But if it's bad, we'll just make a new order and then just automate the entire process and then just keep A/B switching, ordering new ones when it's bad. And like, I think that's, I'm super confident in our
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've actually sort of stolen, you've mentioned a workflow that we're going to be doing, which is pretty much after some time you see it works well, just automatically purchase a new domain and mailbox, which I guess you've exposed a bit of it right now already. So that's also going to be done and taken care of. So yeah.
Yeah. So this is actually a funny one too. I want to ask you your opinion on this. So I spoke to Jay Goal, founder of GMass, roughly about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And so we were speaking about it, and like it was interesting because it kind of changed my perception on it. So we were talking about like, okay, because this is what the public consensus has been, right? So if you set up a Google account in America, American credit card, US IP, pay for Google. You do the exact same thing, but you do it in another country, let's say India, right? Like everyone thinks, oh, you set it up in India,
It's not going to work.
Indian IP, like Indian IP is not going to deliver well, bad deliverability. The bonus for the cold email list is that there's, two sides of, you're paying $2 for an inbox in India and then like, what is it, like 12 in America, right? So it's huge price difference. And so, I guess like, what's your opinion on that in terms of like an Indian inbox that's set up regularly, not a reseller, like regularly versus one that's
just
set up
clear plain setup versus clear plain setup, how that works. So to be honest with you, I'll own up to it. I also had a bias towards American IPs and American mailboxes. I don't want to say my bias has changed a bit, but what I've realized now with SD, smart delivery, I think I can't sit and make claims, but just a weekend now where Saturday, it's been 5 days for us and we've crossed about 1 million tests, right? And we can easily tell that it doesn't matter. Like because we track the IPs, right? The MX records with the IPs and we see which locations are coming from. I don't want to say one does better than the other, but there's no, like I can't draw, like the data is just gibberish. The graphs don't make sense in the sense that I want to say this works better than this. But in the end, like I said, as long as it's Gmail and Outlook, it seems to be fine where it's coming from. So like I said, my bias is still to US IPs do better. And maybe the next time we speak in a few weeks, when we have a few more million records to give some answers. Right now, it's not making sense in the sense that it's just all the same. But I'm hoping that after some time, we do see some patterns where we can consistently say, yeah, looks like it doesn't matter. I know to an extent it doesn't matter, simply because we'd have a bunch of people who would use resellers and they would send emails thinking it's working fine. And like we're doing an audit check and they're getting great results. And then suddenly, like, why are you sending off Singapore? And he's like, what do you mean? Like I have US IP. I'm like, no, you're sending off Singapore. I can tell you that right now. And I was like, doesn't matter. You're getting good results, right? So 1 or 2 instances I have seen that, but like I said, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was funny too. Like Jay was like, when I kind of said that, because same thing. I had the opinion of like, yo, US American accounts way better than these Indian Gmail accounts, whatever. And he was like, dude, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, they're both legitimate users sending a legitimate email.
Yeah. They're
like,
paying customers.
Yeah,
there's no reason Google will going to go ahead and penalize someone. They're just doing price parity, which is part of good business practice. So yeah,
exactly. So that it kind of changed my mind on it, but yeah, interesting all the way. Another question. So this is less about like go to market and deliverability. Well, I guess it's more about go to market with Smartlead being a POG SaaS. Like you guys have scaled like crazy.
Thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, how do you think about like go to market? Like what do you like? Yeah, I guess like how do you just think about go to market with like a POG SaaS? I've always had difficulty doing that. I've ran like 4 SaaS companies, some that have done good, some that have done really bad. But I found just like growing a POG SaaS to be super difficult because my specialty is like outbound sales, and it's you can't really run cold emails at a POG SaaS and expect it to be sustainable channel. But yeah, I guess like what are your just thoughts on like go to market for POG SaaS?
So when we started, we were in PLG. It was just outbound and like people who are big champions or like supported us. Like I claimed, like yourself, you were one of the reasons why it worked out for us, right? Because when we got the sense of proof and sense of trust from someone like yourself, then it became easy as a validator for us to then come into credit market and say, yeah, like this makes sense. I mean, if you open our database right now, Nick recommended you is still there in where did you find us, as you know, in the database. So I do think that makes and works well, where you have a lot of outbound plus inbound outbound. And then once you have a bit of traction, then you push towards a PLG based engine, which effectively means that one product sells the other product that sells the other product. It's what we're doing with SD right now, which is you sort of created the perfect picture, right? You do outbound, you generate some leads for customers. As a result of that, you want to drive and really figure out how your domains and mailboxes are performing on a very strategic and statistical perspective. You're running a parallel test and you realize, oh, this particular domain is a bit burnt or mailbox is a bit burnt. And automatically in a click of a button or without even doing that, you've gone ahead and purchased mailboxes, which we will allow you to do very soon. And then you've blended all of them together. So what was a one revenue driver of whatever, if you're on a certain plan, now you complement that with the other plan, and then you suddenly complement the other plan. So your rev expansion model eventually just it scales perfectly fine. It's not separate products, but products that work together to make it perfect. I don't know who said this. I just love the saying though. I call them MLPs, minimum lovable products. Each of them are great. They work well by themselves, but each of them together give you the complete solution, right? So that's how I've been looking at a PLG based model, which is the product drives more growth because what happens is you see revenue results and then people say those numbers are great. Then what you do is you encourage customers to go ahead and then share screenshots of their deliverability results, right? And it all comes down to what we've spoken about, which is how do you get people, we have this discussion a lot, is how do you get people to make decisions or how do you get people to do something and share more about us as a business organically? And what we end up seeing is three things matter amongst many, but the one thing we'll focus on is people want to drive authority in a place that is hard to drive authority. People want to drive revenue as a result of that, and people want to back it up with proof, right? So by giving them like an agency that the deliverability is the name of the game, we can simply say someone takes a screenshot of their client's performance, not their outbound, but they'll show them, hey, because of us, these people are getting an 80% placement rate. They don't even speak about the reply rates, etc. I think that itself is an appealing factor for people to then drive that. And they're like, oh, how do you do that? Common denominator is the product. So that's how I tend to try approach this is you start off with in a crowded market, you have to have something 10x better, cheaper, faster. There's no two ways around that. And then once you have that better, you want to find champions in the space who believe in their vision and they are also seeing value in what you're building. That is all blended with a very strong customer support engine. Once that has reached a certain point, then you start rev expansion or product expansion that then feeds into the problem each problem solves. Last statement is I talked to my team about this, and I love this mechanism of product philosophies, which is when you solve a problem, try introduce another one. And what I mean by that is we solved access to information with smart delivery. Now what's the next part, which is, okay, what do I do with this? Right. So now you can start offering advice. You can start, I guess, selling mailboxes. You can start doing automations, whole bunch of stuff. So you sort of get them to want more because you've opened their mind up to more. So that's how we've started to look at it. And that's kind of what's helped us a bit.
Yeah. No, dude, that was a lot of sauce right there. I love that. Let's talk about one of the product expansions and one of the revenue expansions that you had, like right when you launched Smartlead maybe 2 years ago with the LinkedIn automation.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
you wanna talk about
Love
that a little bit?
Yeah, why not? Woke up, I was at a friend's wedding, went for breakfast. I opened my phone and I got a cute little letter from someone saying, stop doing what you're doing right now or say goodbye to, whatever you're doing plus a lot more. And I think that's just, it's funny because even now when I reflect and people are like, oh, so, it's not that hard running a business. I'm sure this, I'm like, yeah, just wake up one day and get threatened by a $40 billion business and you just have to say goodbye to, I mean, like when we launched it, I don't know how much, I think we scaled 30-40K in a few days because we had the backing of our user base and we just had to say bye to that. Right?
Yeah.
Had to say bye to that very quickly. We got kicked out of LinkedIn. I lost my social profiles. It was fun to say the least. But you live and learn. You battle through it, you figure it out, and you live and learn. You come back and you figure a way out. That was fine. The thing that I think stung the most is seeing our competitors launch the same thing the day we got told no, and then me trying to figure out how they can do it and we can't, and turns out it's just some nonsense jurisdiction, blah blah. But it is what it is.
Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy because like you released a feature, and that feature did more in revenue and just users than most people have on like their entire business. And you probably spent what, like at least 6 to 9 months building out that entire
It
function.
actually took us longer to build the LinkedIn automation than Smartly, because Link obviously is very like super intense with their, like, you know, the way they operate on their IP restrictions, logging in, warm up. It's like 10 times worse than actual doing email outbound. LinkedIn automation is 10 times worse. So yeah, we spent a lot of time building that, but gone.
Just gone in a day. That's
yeah, I think it was we launched, and because we made most of our rev even pre-launch, like while the website was not live. And then the day we launched, I think about 3 or 4 days later, we got the email, and then I was like, whatever, what's gonna happen? And a few weeks later, we were gone.
Yeah, no, that's tough. Dude, also on another thing I want to touch about is your go-to-market strategy. And I guess you wouldn't really call this a go-to-market strategy, but like just how you are doing customer support. I think like that's one of the things that, like, you know, I'm in a lot of communities that you're in, and like even when I talk to people, like they know that you're behind customer support, and everyone loves that, and they know that you're so in the weeds, even after having what, like 25 people on your customer support team. And it's still something I literally saw you like, messaging someone yesterday in a group chat talking about how to solve their issues on Smartlead. Like, how do you think that kind of goes to your growth that you've had with Smartlead?
Sure. I asked a friend before I started SL, when I was trying to figure it out, like build products, etc. I was like, hey, what's like, give me a growth hack. I'm desperate. Give me something. And he's like, customer support. I was like, the dumbest answer someone can give me. I was like, I need customers for having customer support. Yeah, that's up to you to, you know, haggle the first 3, 4 people. That's up to you to figure out, yank them, pull them, run ads, you know, stand outside a board, get something in. But I did support for the first 8 months. Only me. There was no one else, right? And I generally think that was the one of the hacks that were hacks, those things that work for us, which is I'd be on support. I remember Eric used to do this challenge with his customers. They'd be like, I bet you I'll message him and he'll reply back. And like he was doing a screen share, and he sent a message saying, hey, this, and I responded back, and he WhatsApped me saying, dude, that was like the funniest demo, because I was trying to tell the customers that it'll work, and then you did just that. And I do think that played a big role, because it was trust signaling. It worked well. They realized I was there. But they realized the team is there to help out and be there in the end of it. You can get away with a shit product. You cannot get away with shit support, in my opinion. And it catches up, obviously. But I do think that has played a big role, as much as I don't want to admit to it.
Yeah, no, it's funny too, because like, so I met V earlier in Vegas in February, and you know, we went to Altrozi's event, we went to dinner at Carbone, we went to dinner at Chick-fil-A. We're just all around.
Gordon Ramsay was where we're at.
Oh yeah, we were there too, and it was funny because like, you know, I'm thinking V's like scrolling on Instagram while we're talking and like having our discussions with like Enzo and Eric, and I like peek over, and he's like in the customer support chat inside of Slack, like getting back to customers. It's like 11:30 at night, and I'm like, dude, what is this guy doing? Like, dude, take a break. And he's like, nah, I need to get back to my customers. I'm like, dude, this dedication's insane. It's like, if I see an email, sometimes I'm like, you know, I'll get back to it tomorrow morning. He's like, I'm getting back to it right now. But yeah, I think that's played a huge role, because like I think that's one of the things that, like, when I think about Smartlead, I think like the two things that make everyone so attracted to you is, one, like, you guys are so technical. I think, I mean, you being an engineer yourself, like, I think everyone just perceives it as higher deliverability. Yeah. And it is. The product works for itself. I think the other thing too, it's like customer support. And it makes me so upset whenever I see people inside of like Slack channel or you would say, oh, their support channel is taking forever to get back to me. Because I know that's never the truth. And if it is, like, it's like that one rare case, and they make a big fuss about it.
Well, we always know which digit code ends up having that. Yeah. I'm not gonna say that in public, but yeah.
I'll cut it out. But another thing I wanted to ask you. So, you know, obviously, you know, you've been around the block when it comes to startups for quite some time now. Have you considered any kind of other businesses, like maybe post Smartlead, or just like, businesses that you're like, dude, this model is so intriguing, and I wish I could have the extra time on hand to do it.
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
fixed
fair,
journey.
fair, fair. I don't think there's a model that's intriguing, but I've always fallen in love with like, knowledge gaps as being leverage points to drive value for users. I think Shopify is a great example, right? Which is, I'm sure we've all done drop shipping if, at some point in time, and you'd have that YouTuber, he would like take 22 minutes of a video. All he's trying to show you is how to like inspect element and delete the made by Shopify, and the comments will be filled like, oh, this is amazing. My life has changed. Thank you so much. And then you'd realize that they are happy to pay because the time and impact and effort needed for them to achieve what is quick for them to achieve with this product is the leverage that we can charge, right? So the models perhaps may not be appealing to me, but that philosophy is. So yeah, I definitely say, I'll hopefully be doing this for as long as I can think of. But if I were to look at a parallel business, if I were to expand, I'll definitely looking at knowledge gaps like that come into place. Smart delivery is a great example for that. Another knowledge gap is definitely real estate. I think we've spoken about that as well. There's so many people who have no idea what they're doing and they just believe the next person who says something. But when you back that with information that they don't have access to and show them in a simplistic way why it works and doesn't, I think that works well. I'm just quoting real estate. It can be even finding oil in observing geological rock areas for mines or something. So what I'd be interested in is trying to assess on an overall market perspective, what are people doing every day, but they just struggle to do it because the amount of information they need to have that outcome is just very, very deep, depth driven and effort focused. So we just sort that out for them in the easiest way possible. So yeah.
How would you go about like go to market if you actually
If I were to do something like that, I think I would
use Smartlead and send cold email.
Yeah, definitely use Smartlead if I was allowed to. I would definitely do outbound. I would definitely find a few key influencers and incentivize them and show them the value of the product and get them to use it more than I think the Hormozi says this really well, right? Like the best affiliates are your customers, right? And just for reference, FYI, I don't know how much revenue is actually attributed to Nick. Nick's not taking $1. Nick doesn't have an affiliate link or anything. And I think that's the funny one. When I look at it on a map perspective, our biggest generators of revenue are from people who don't do affiliate like rev with us. It's just pure good business. Like we push people to them, they push people to us. We like each other, and more than like each other, that like is also built on a predication of things work, right? And I think as long as we keep pushing the barometer and we deliver for them and vice versa, that's all there is. So I would find some good people who like the product and then champion it. I would find mechanisms to do predictive outbound to drive revenue for a particular customer, because it's the easiest way. Outbound is the easiest way to validate. It's like make people money, save people time, right? If you can do any of these two things, it's straightforward. And then right after that, what I would do is one thing I guess we can do better, we're working on, is try building more investment levers. What I mean by that is getting people to compound more into the product. I mean, you guys have done that. A lot of people are doing that because we have an API-centric approach, but I would try be more focused on compound mechanisms with the next product. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And then just like on like past businesses, like I know you ran your agency, you ran SmartWriter. I believe you had an exit with another SaaS company. Yeah, enemies, not competitors, enemies.
Yeah, enemies. Well, technically competitors now. I need to have a versus page ready.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So with like all your past businesses, like, was your thought process on like how to go to market pretty much always the same? It's like we're gonna run cold emails to validate, product market
Yeah,
fit.
I mean, it hasn't changed. When people are like, "Oh, it's the funniest thing, right?" It's like, "What are you doing today?" I'm like, "It's the same shit I did back then. It's just that something's worked a bit better now, so you're listening to me. You didn't listen to me back then. I said the same thing back then. It's not different. It's the same thing. It's just I just did it a lot more this time around. Smartwriter's origination was another product called Scenario, which was like AI analytics for small businesses, and those businesses did not exist on Facebook, so we couldn't run ads. So I do like hard email and outbound, and that's when we started to use virtual assistants to go ahead and be like, "Hey, write a personalized email based upon this person's research, etc., etc." And then at that point, OpenAI beta came out, and we're like, "Cool, we're getting them to do that. Let's do the same thing." So that's the origination of SmartWriter. So hard, personalized outbound pitch, selling what you're selling, jump on demos, hundreds of them. Once you get about 100 customers, that's when you start like looking at other mechanisms to parallel your outbound, or your outbound does not solve the same problem as it is, which is new business acquisition. It starts doing things like, I guess it acts as a complement to other mechanisms. And I guess in this day and age, it's not just outbound alone. Like you need to do outbound, you need to have a website, you need to do branding, you need to do social media, you need to do ads. All those things make a massive difference.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like all of the channels like supplement each other, right? Like your
Correct.
cold emails
Absolutely.
work so much better whenever people can look you up and find hundreds of
100%.
videos and LinkedIn posts
100%.
and all this.
100%.
So
Like you
same thing with
can't
ads.
you can have the slappiest offer, like you said, but it'll work. But it'll work even better if you've got like these other elements to back it up with.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to consider for a lot of like startups is like, you know, I've had a ton of failed businesses, and if I think back of like the failed businesses, some of them, you know, didn't have product market fit, but I think the big thing is like, if they did have an offer that was validated and there was a bigger person in the space that was crushing it, the only reason why I wasn't at their same level was because I wasn't throwing enough traffic, regardless of if it was cold email, content, whatever it is. It's just like, if you only have 10 people hitting your website, like you can't expect this to be $1 million business unless you sell like $1 million product, which most of you guys probably
That's
don't.
it.
You know, so it's,
To quote one of our friends slash people who is a genius marketer, you need to do so much that it makes it, you know, statistically difficult to not win. Fazio said that. So
I have him
and I
coming
could
on
not agree with that.
I have him coming on Tuesday. I'm excited to hear him
Yeah,
just
well,
like
there you
rant
go,
about
right?
things.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
I actually have it as one of my quotes. I actually keep it. I love it, and I even tell that to him whenever, like, I speak to him. I was like, do so much.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Hold on. I actually will find it for you. Yeah, there you go. No. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I have to find it. Now I can't stop. Anyway, yeah, we'll keep speaking. I'll find that for you.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to speak about, like when you started SmartWriter, what like at that point, like I don't even think you started building SmartLead. Like, what was your long-term vision with SmartWriter that you were like hoping to happen?
Can you read the question? Sorry.
Yeah, like with SmartWriter, what was your long-term version? Because at that or long-term vision, because at that point, like you didn't start building out
Great question.
SmartLead.
Yeah,
And
good question. Good question. Yeah, I do have the quotes. I'll really quickly tell you that is like, you need to be pumping enough volume that the raw mathematics make it unlikely you won't get a desired end result. So,
shout out as you.
Yeah, do so much is difficult to not win. So that's a quote. So, SmartWriter was the class A example that it was a product, not a business. Right? It was a ChatGPT wrapper with some scraping, etc., and that's all there was to it. And that's why it would never work because it was a product.
Yep.
It did not have an actual core business offering, right? It did not have retention levers inside of it. We'd have integrations and stuff, but that was that. So when I started SmartWriter, the vision of SW was effectively to figure out how to solve the biggest problem we faced, right? Which was, I was hiring VAs and training them how to do XYZ, and I just wanted to automate that. And then what I realized is we were a commodity within a commodity. That means we were not even sending the emails or writing the whole email. We were writing the first line of the email that will then have something else. So, the goal was to then go into the next phase, but OpenAI at that time had very restrictive, policies that you couldn't write full emails and all that kind of stuff. So the grand vision of SmartWriter was to help do what we did and we struggle with. Every business that I've built at least, was solving a core problem, right? Which is, I did a bunch of outbound, I sucked at it, said, all right, how do we figure it out and fix it? That was like 2015 when I, started doing, 2014 when I started doing outbound. And my outbound was, I created a Udemy course and I would like send it to a bunch of people, like CTO saying, hey, I built a free course and you may not be coding anymore. So do you want to check this out? And that's how I ran the agency. You get better at it. So, the grand vision for SmartWriter, honestly, was simply just setting up something that would help people automate their email personalization at scale, because that was the most difficult thing for us.
Yeah, and to kind of speak on that as well, like obviously, we're competitors. We ran quick lines. I think you nailed it perfectly. I always said it like it's a feature, not a business.
Yeah.
It like you have to think about like, okay, can your product actually solve the end user's pain point? And for our users, it's lead gen. And
yes,
if they do everything else wrong, It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how great
Yeah.
the line is, like they're just not gonna get the results.
That's
So
it.
it's like
You need to
they
be
don't have
responsible to the offer that you're selling.
yeah, and it's like they don't have a good, offer. If they don't do deliverability, like they don't do all of those
Yep.
things, like
Yep.
you could have a 10 out of 10 line. You can mainly write the line. You're still not going to get the
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you just have
I
massive churn in those
could
spaces.
not agree more with you. Is when you build a product and you sell an offer, you need to make sure that your product is responsible for that offer. It's not part of the responsibility of other things to bring you that offer. If you say you offer 95% deliverability, you better damn do the copywriting, you do the domains, you do the mailboxes, you do the sending, you do all of that. You can't just say I'm sending like I'm a mailbox provider and I'm going to offer 95% because it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
It's not the case, right?
100%.
You're not going to 95% when you're selling crypto. Like it's true, right? So you need to be responsible for the outcome. So you absolutely nailed that. We would have the same support tickets, right? It was like, hey, it's not working. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, bro, I looked at your copy. Like you're selling crap to crap. Like I can tell your first line can be their bloody, blood type in terms of
Yeah.
how personal you want to be, but that's not going to give you anything if you're selling crap after that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm also curious to hear your take. I mean, obviously there's been so many different products that have launched in the last 4 years in the sales space. I think like especially the products that serve lead gen agencies mostly. Like I think we've seen this space grow so much in the last 4 years. I've launched a ton of products in space. You have as well. What are some opportunities that you think are out there that you like see from just like, with the problems that you see across your user base that you're like, if someone built this, like they're gonna fucking crush
That'd be
it.
pretty sick. Yeah. There's a lot, but if I were to say, if I were to talk about agencies, I think right now the biggest thing that someone can do to serve agencies, because that is, sell shovels, not gold, whatever thing is. Um, a lot of agencies right now simply don't know how to set up infra. And they don't know how to go ahead and set up systems that will help them scale for their customers. Because most agencies are built by sales guys and girls, right? They actually don't have the technical backing. You're an odd one out, right? You and like 2-3 people are odd ones out who actually understands the depictions of everything. Most of these people are selling 5K ticket pops to customers and they have no clue what they're doing, right? I think if there was someone to come into the space and solve something, it would either be, and if you want to do the AI side of things, it would definitely be something that would sit on top of these SEMs or SAPs like sending email like Smartlead or our competitors that can analyze this information and give agencies access to information in terms of advice of what they can do to then help them serve their customers better, almost becoming like an AI uh, data analyst per se, right? I think that will be a pretty cool place to be if you want to launch a one-off product. Because that's actually kind of what some people do with our API is they take that data and they start giving you advice and people pay for that. So I think that's a
Yeah.
cool place.
Yeah, and I think kind of like you mentioned the infra part, like you're completely right. I think it's like lead gen agencies have been kind of like the new wave. Like, back in the day it was like SMMA. Now everyone's kind of like popularizing lead gen agencies.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like they a lot of the people are just kind of getting the space. They don't have that technical background. So I think like
Right.
infra is a big one. Cause if I look at like where we've had the biggest revenue dips, it all came after like a huge deliverability adjustment. And usually when that happens, it just wipes out all the younger guys and the guys that aren't really that technical.
They won't be able to
because
survive because
they just
exactly.
can't get results. Churn happens 90 days later, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm completely with you on that one. I'm curious as well. So, I built a couple of SaaS companies, obviously nowhere near the level of Smartlead. Some that have done good, somewhat good, some that have failed really bad. I think the biggest bottleneck I ever had being non-technical is building an engineering team and a development team. And I think a lot of people that, they think SaaS, specifically POG SaaS, is like the business model that they need to do. That you come from a non-technical background, that's where they all fall short. Obviously, you're an engineer, you've tackled it, you've crushed it, and you're scaling it. But like, how do you think about, or I guess like, what would you say are like the do's and don'ts of building a development team?
Fun one. So I guess I actually counter statement to this, controversial statement to this per se. I usually, and it's true, I don't deserve a lot of credit that I get. I think the team deserves 95% of it. But the one thing that I'll sort of step in and say is I don't think SL would have worked if I was not a software person. To be honest with you, it's a very technical product and you need to have some sort of software background. And I don't mean a CTO or a co-founder. I mean, you need to be technical in what you do. Like you understand the root layers of most of these things. With that being said, if you're building an Eng team, there's two ways you can attract good talent. Get good growth, right? One. And if you have good growth, then what you can do is go ahead and pretty much attract more talent by offering them a layer to try and fail. I don't think in this day and age, the IQ is the hard part. I think the EQ is the hard part. Like, is giving engineers a safe space to try and build something and the autonomy to try and build something and build an outcome out of that and making them focus on the users. So if I were to break it down, 3, have good enough growth to attract new talent that will actually, and your question might be, how do I get growth when I don't have an Eng team? You have to have something to validate it. Either you have the predication history, as a person, your social media or something like Nick can probably get really good talent because he's got a lot of branding behind lead bird. You crush it. We know your numbers, right? You kill it. So that will always attain new people to come to you and work with you on building what you're doing. The second way I would go ahead and do it is, give them really exciting, fun problems to solve. That's always, engineers are nerds. Like they want to solve big problems, right? And the third thing is, when you're giving them big problems to solve, give them a safety net to fail and let them know that it's okay if something doesn't work out, but hold them accountable to it, right? And make them aware of that. And when I say hold them accountable, Eng team does customer support, right? At SL, right? Everyone in SL now does customer support. I think those 3 things work really, really well. It's not generic. I do this right now, which is I know for a fact some of the team members that join later with Smartlead, they would not have joined if we didn't have growth. Doesn't matter if I was technical or like if I was, I knew everything on programming, etc. They needed sense of proof and sense of trust, and they needed some layer of growth or mechanisms to show that. Every person would research me. Like, I saw your YouTube videos. I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw, cool, you know what you're doing. I saw you exited a company. Sweet. There's some layer of trust that's built. That's how you can attract good talent. For those of you who are watching and saying, I don't have any of those, well, figure a way out, build a brand, build something, talk shit somewhere, right? Like, it doesn't take much. People who deserve a lot less are deserving a lot more than you just because they're executing. So speak about something and then go to a dev saying that, hey, I got 1 million followers. I clearly know what I'm doing. I want to build something. Help me. They'll come.
Yeah. And I think you nailed it right on the head on 2 fronts. So for background, try to build an email sending platform similar to Smartlead. Worked for a little bit, totally failed after. I wasn't technical, so I wasn't able to lead my developers and tell them, hey, this is where you need to look and figure things out.
Stuff, yeah.
So like it was so hard to scale it. And then also with just like the support side, like on all of our failed SaaS companies, we've never had our engineers handling support. We kept it separate. And I think that caused, it's like you have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Like you have, a customer support person that probably has no idea of like why this issue is happening. And they try to explain it to the engineers. Like, the engineer thinks, oh, this is the problem, but really it was this instead.
It's something else.
And then it's just, it's a total mess from there. So I think that's where we had a lot of our issues. So you guys are listening, don't make the same issues I made. But I'm also curious too, right? So obviously, Indian grew up, Indian family household, like, dream is to become a software engineer, all that stuff. Like, what do your parents think that you're doing right now? Like, what do they think Smartlead is?
They don't know what I do. They don't know what I do. My dad thinks, my dad's happy that there's more emails that show up in his inbox that are spam. And he doesn't, I was like, pure dad love. He's like, I don't mark them as spam because I don't know if they're coming from you. So I was like, oh, thanks, Dad. It's like, what if they're coming from you? I'm like, I can tell you how they're coming from you. I'll show you how to like point for it. He's like, no, I'm too scared to mark it as spam because it might come from you. I was like, cool, all good. We're sorted. My parents don't know really what I do, to be honest. I think for me, I do for the team what I think one of the things that my parents gave me, which is they gave me like a playground. Typical Indian parents, I don't think the nature of Note is like proactive encouragement, but because they've grown up in their own things and they're bound by their experiences. But one thing my parents definitely gave me is just an arena to screw up as much as I can with no judgment and nothing. It's like, do it's okay, do it's okay. And I think that's what helped a lot, and that's what I passed to the team as well. So no, my parents have no clue what to do. I think a lot of Indian kids go on these online places, articles, etc., just to prove a point. Like, look, it's legit. I these are not just random people on the internet that I jump on a Zoom call with and pretend that I'm working. I actually have a job. So yeah, I'm sure you get the same slack as well.
Yeah. My parents have no idea what I do, but this is hilarious. Every time I go back home in my parents' study room, there's some person tweeted at me saying like, Nick's information is so great. It helped me a lot in my business to scale my agencies. Shout out Nick.
Yeah.
My dad literally printed that out, and it's
Ah,
just on
cute.
the wall.
How
But
cute. I love that. That's amazing. I love that. That's amazing.
I'm curious though, like, what's your like, I guess like intro whenever someone's like, you meet someone new and they're like, hey, what do you do? Like, how do you go about explaining
I mean, you know
Smartlead?
me. We've known each other north 2 years at this point. I keep it very low key. I'm like, I send emails. They're like, oh, don't we all? I'm like, yeah, that's all I do. Then they're like, oh, what do you really do? I'm like, uh, I generally send emails. Like I have a email marketing platform. Then they're like, oh yeah, like MailChimp. Like, yeah, like
Yeah,
MailChimp.
yeah. It's
That's it.
funny too, because like I think in most obviously like having Indian family and friends and
Yeah,
whatnot,
yeah,
like they're all doctors or engineers, but they're
yeah,
mostly doing stuff that are like B2C. So they have
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea what B2B
They have no clue about
leads,
B2B.
none of that.
No
And so
clue.
it's like
Yeah, yeah,
I anytime I try to explain it to someone, it's like going up a hill. Like it just
yeah, yeah.
nothing connects at all. It's yeah,
I don't speak
that's
about work because
hilarious.
I'm like
Same.
I'd rather me explain my name because that's easier for me to explain my name because everyone says V. I'd rather explain Vaibhav and help you figure out how to pronounce that than explain what I do for work because you've nailed it. Like people are so, oh, is it an app? Like how
Mhm.
many downloads does it have? I'm like, it has 1,000, 2,000. Oh, so your business is okay. I'm like, no, no, no. That's just B2B. That's how it is. It's not meant to have 1 million downloads. It's meant to have like a couple thousand downloads, not 1 million downloads. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, go man, look, I can pay for the food if you want, but
There's on me. Um,
yeah.
One question I had though is how do you see Smartlead evolving in the next like 3 to 4 years? Just from like, how the climate's been in terms of like lead gen and cold
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
emails and spam
Yeah.
filters and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, man, I don't want to say I know everything, but I know what we can say for the next 1 year. And the roadmap that we built is the way the product will evolve is effectively serve um, even more specifically the set of people that we want to serve, whether it's agencies or large scale businesses. And what we'll be building up is a suite of tools that basically complement each other to solve one problem, which is making sure you get in the primary inbox, right? That's it. Um, what that entails, you actually know our entire roadmap. I come to you for a lot of advice, and you help you even FYI everyone, as Nick has proactively told that his SaaSes haven't worked. Just for reference, I have a line item in my calendar that I meet him every month to give me advice. So just so you're aware of the power dynamics over here. This is very much not the way he's pinning it to be. A lot of the core part of Smartlead was built due to his advice. So just FYI, he's being humble. But for us, a lot of it is kind of what we spoke about, which is building a simple. It's what is an evergreen problem, right? I think Bezos says this really well. Is he's like, I want to solve problems that will not change 10 years later. Like people always want products to show up quicker, right? People will always want to look prettier, right? People will always want to, save more money. I don't know, whatever it might be. So those are the problems that he wants to focus on solving. And I think it's very similar to Smartlead. We're not gonna say I'm releasing this or release. I'm like 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, 40 years. Despite the copy, despite the gimmicky stuff, if email still exists at that point, people want to make sure the email they send is seen by people, and we're in that game. So that's
Because
that's I guess the easiest answer is my game is to ensure that the work you put in to make sure you write something and you send something, we can do the best we can to make sure it's read by someone.
yeah, and I'm also curious to hear how you kind of tackled this issue because I think, and this has been one of my issues as well, kind of being in like this lead gen space, this kind of like what I would say it's like in that gray hat area, right? And, a lot of the things like spam filters, like Google's never going to say, hey, this is our new spam filter policy and how everything works. So you kind of have to operate in the gray and try to figure out like, how does this all work and stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
How do you like what's your like framework or process to like be able to run these tests, to be able to, kind of identify, hey, this is the way forward?
I can give you better information once SD gets a bit more scale past a million tests, like a couple million tests in. But even right now with SL, bounce codes is a great way to give us some information. Sending patterns are a great way to give us information. A lot of the data we collect right now lets us know what mailboxes work, what don't work, the age of a domain that works, which IPs you send from works, what type of copy you send works, and you're just doing a best guess. You're absolutely right. It's a best guess game, right? It's they make a change, we then need to make a change to make sure their change is then adjusted towards. Like Google announced that, we've released this enterprise level spam filtering for whatever. I'm like, greatness to God, which is now we've got smart delivery, so it doesn't matter. Like whatever the spam filters they're selling, we're gonna have, so we can tell you what's not working. You make the change, you're good to go. So it was always going to be a cat and mouse game. And when people say, is that sustainable? I'm like, well, the entire SEO industry is built on this, right? The entire SEO industry is built on the fact that we're guessing what Google is going to say and do, and based on that, we write content. So, or not even that, like, the entire LinkedIn social media engine is built on that. We're going to guess that this is what works, and we're going to do that. So, IMO, that's kind of where I stand. It's always going to be gray hat when you're trying to beat an algorithm, and your job is to be one step ahead, trying to be better than that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And yeah, it's like you can't scale this big without having some kind of process and some kind of like
framework. Sorry. So to ask you a question with respect to process loops, right? It's kind of what we do, which is what we speak about, which is you go ahead and see why someone's having, when, like, for example, June happened. Let's call it what. You end up looking through every single comb piece of information, saying what is the pattern someone's doing, what is the average sending volume per mailbox, what is the minimum time gap between a mailbox, what are the people who have said they're seeing low replies in June, what type of mailboxes did they use as a parameter. Makes no difference. Cool. What is the type of copy that they sent? We do some word clouding stuff, which is you go ahead and look at the copy that's been sent, you pull that information, you dump that into look at ChatGPT type of thing and say, find me the most common words that had the lowest reply rate. Find me the most common words that had the highest reply rate. And you see, there's a difference. Clearly. The ones that had low reply rates actually had a lot of common words in them. And the ones that had a high reply rate had very different things going on. So you just peel back every step of the way and you understand what's working, what's not. So I start off with, pretty much, to answer your question, we start off with a random, non-driven permutative cycle. And then we step back very quickly saying, we've run 10 runs. We know these two things are not meant to even talk to each other. Like I'll give an example, like the credit, like the first name of a credit card and the deliverability make no difference. But at first you start with everything, right? And then you roll back saying, tenants seem to make a difference. Location seems to make a difference. Then you start drawing some patterns. So that's how we tend to approach it.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of lead gen agencies that are kind of like crying for deliverability and all that stuff. Like, I think that the one thing I realized is like, okay, like it's usually not deliverability. It is, but like, if a client with just no product market fit, terrible offer, like it doesn't matter what you do. If you set up brand new, whatever, like you're just still going to get bad results. And so like my biggest learning lesson in the last like 6 months is like, you just can't sell batch to customers. Or if you do, it needs to be like a better expectation of what's going to happen and what they need to do to become successful. And then it's like, okay, when you aren't sending enough emails, like most agencies, like out of the networks I know, like they're like, I'm even still like, I would consider a small player, like 1.5 million emails a month, like not anything crazy. Like we know guys that are sending like 1 million a day. But a lot of the agencies that are posting content, like they're sending, 250 to 500,000 emails a month. Probably like a fifth of that is for themselves internally so they can grow their business. You just can't make these like consensuses and data points and
you got it, but it's
these,
just it's fun to talk about. I don't know what book it was, but it was like human beings are built on fear. That's just survivor bias shit, right? That's caveman, cavewoman type stuff. Is the one, technically all our parents were the scared ones who stayed back in the cave when their brave cousins and their brave brothers went to fight lions. So we're cautious people by nature. So we love bad news. That is a lot more attractive to us to read than good news, right? I think someone did an example saying that if you put two pieces of paper saying, here's 5 reasons why you will fail, right? Versus saying 3 paths to success. They're going to read the why I'm going to fail because I'm just so focused. Like I'm so scared. I don't know why I don't want to fail. You're not even geared towards building me towards a mechanism to grow. So I think it's just fear mongering, fear bias. It works really well for them, and they use that. It's always, the people that I know as well is the ones who are the biggest fear mongers always have a little that's what you're selling. That's why you're trying to
So all
drop
funnel.
this nonsense. All the funnel.
Yeah.
All the funnel. You drop in a message to them. They're like, "Oh man, do you think this is happening?" Yeah. Buy my infrastructure. That's
every
that's
single
how it
time.
works.
Every
single
single time.
Or DM me for my infrastructure. Right? That's
Yeah,
what we've seen.
yeah. No, it's hilarious. So
Yeah.
this one's a little bit past like Smartlead, and we'll probably end off soon. More on the personal side. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I've known you for 2 years, seen you like twice in person, spent some time together, whatnot.
Yeah.
Dude, you work like 24/7. The only other person I think that works as much as you do and is online as much as you are is Jesse. Sometimes I'll text
Yeah.
Jesse at like
Jesse's an alien. I don't know
shout
what
out
he does. I
Jesse,
don't think
shout
anyone
out
knows
to
anything about Jesse. Yeah.
shout out to SYC.
Mm.
But dude,
Mm.
it's hilarious like how active you are. And
Yeah.
obviously like your success shows for it.
Mm.
But how do you handle burnout? Like I just feel like you're literally so focused that it's impossible for you to burn out.
Yeah. Sam Altman said this really well. I fought it for a while, but I agree now. I think you have burnout when you don't like what you do. Don't get me wrong. There's some days I'm like, I am not happy, right? But I enjoy what I do. I generally enjoy what I do. Even when I'm having like an argument with someone, I'm like, kind of like, I'm gonna just tell you, I'm gonna prove a point to you. I'm gonna let my ego prove a point to you. But I generally enjoy what I do, and I think to not get too sappy, uh, I'm a sucker for quotes and all silver lining and everything, and I do believe every one of us, including yourself, perhaps, because I've seen your posts and stuff about how you started in the closet and you got to where you are right now. I do think, for whatever it is or whatever it may be, it's like God's lessons to get us to where we are, which is I think I really needed those 6 years of absolutely nothing working out for me because right now, even when everything is just pain, right? I'd be like, yeah, I prayed for this. Like, shut up. Like, get on the horse and run. Like 6 years, you would sell your kidney, your right foot, and your left toe to get to this place. There is no way you have the right to complain. And I think it's because of that, because I know what it was. I'd always have this. I'd rather prefer this any day of the day. So my parents and family, everyone's like, dude, why are you working? So I was like, you weren't there. The 6 7 years where I was just trying to figure out something sticks. So now something has stuck, not only stuck but also growing. Yeah, I'm gonna to quote Richard, sorry, not to quote Daniel Ricardo, I'm gonna lick the stamp and send it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. You told me that exact same story in SF when we're together.
Yeah,
and
it's the same.
it's
Yeah,
funny.
it's consistent.
Like
Yeah.
in the last like 4 weeks, while I've been kind of just like burnt out or just feeling like, hey, let me take the foot off the pedal. I literally think to that. It's like, dude, I have these problems, and I prayed for these problems,
Yeah.
like years ago, and now we're here.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to say before we end off?
Well, I mean, look, if you're an agency figuring out deliverability, speak to Nick. Know the shit. I mean, like I said, he built our stuff for us quite literally. If you're someone trying to figure out what to do next, don't stop. But that doesn't mean you do the same shit again and again. Expect same results. Keep trying different things. For someone who's looking for a magic bullet, doesn't exist. If people keep messaging me saying what worked, what didn't. Honestly, good people, people that believe in your product, that you believe in it solves an actual problem, and yeah, support the customer. Solve for one. Don't worry about the 10, the 50, the 100. Solve for one, solve for the next, solve for the next, solve for the next. Eventually get better. There is no magic bullet. Do not listen to that TechCrunch article about the 19-year-old who built $1 billion business. Maybe it exists. I just haven't seen it. So if you're in the other 99.99 percentile, just full send, keep grinding. God's grace, it works out for you.
Dude, thanks for so much for being here. Thanks for answering all my questions and talking to me. But yeah, if anyone else is listening, if you want to check out smartlead.ai, they badly need customers, and B will answer all your questions. So
Absolutely.
if you need his number, send me a message. I'll send it to you. What's up? No, but check them out. They'll help you guys on everything on the cold email side, and you'll generate more leads and grow your business. And that's
Thank you, sir.
in a nutshell. But yeah, dude, thanks so much for doing this.
Appreciate it. Means a lot. If anyone sees the website, go to our Slack channel, tag @Nick Abraham. He'll send you the link.
Awesome.